So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of Sips and Giggles, the Sunday Bingo Show special. With myself, Miss Tina Lakes Tantrum.
And myself, Glenn. Hi, welcome along. And of course, we are still joined this week by our very special, wonderful, cracker guest, Miss Trudy, Anne-Marie, Sarah Jessica Parker, Scrumptious.
Yay!
I'll be back, bitch.
So look, we've got so much to do because
Yeah.
you know time is limited. So
Can
last
we make
week
this a 14 episode?
we have got so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were really in the thick of it. If you've not listened to part 1 of this, please go over, have a look on our channel. You'll find part 1, have a listen, and then come back and join us in part 2.
Yeah.
So we were getting into the thick and we were in the middle of the trenches talking about Sunday Bingo Show. So you were telling us, Tina, about some of your most favourite and wonderful performances. Trudy, you were sort of talking about, just on the previous episode, you had said that people were talking to you about performances that you had done, which they had said were their favourites, but you remembered them differently.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of what, and maybe why?
Yeah, some of the ones that people have said to me over the years, really randomly, was a song by Amy Winehouse. It was a cover. Cupid, pull back your bow. Somebody that meant something to them. A couple of people have said before is Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Michael
yes.
Jackson had died, and I done Man in the Mirror, and a lot of people seem to be really remember that fondly.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of other ones now, but for example, yes, I enjoyed doing them. But I think, touching on what we were saying earlier on, different people over the years come to the show and finding their family, their queer family, their gay family, and finding people like them when they're just coming out at an early stage. Hearing stories of people over the years, I'm sort of putting the pieces together and thinking that must have been very formative for them, bigger than a moment than they realised at the time.
Yeah.
And so it is a bit of a sense memory to associate the performance with a feeling of I'm okay with who I am, and I found people like me.
Yeah.
And then that's our numbers per se become the soundtrack of that moment.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
that's very true. We had a listener get in touch with us via Instagram, SJP McKee. That's Sean McKee. Sean McKee was the stage manager at Cabaret.
Yes.
He actually, talking just about songs and things that resonate, Sean wrote in to say that he remembers his very first Sunday Bingo show, and Tina did Agnes Release Me, still a tune.
Yeah, it's still about. Yeah.
But it does, so people will still remember. Like I mentioned in the previous episode.
That is and I just remember doing it there. I remember then, and the other thing was Pauletta Stiletta.
Yes.
I remember she said to me, Taylor, I was like, yes, Pauletta, what are you doing this week? And I was like, you know what, we song Agnes, really? I should fucking hate that song. It's rap. And it kind of threw me a wee bit because I thought, Pauletta, what about, oh, mummy, that is a pure belter. No. And then because Pauletta said that, I gave it gusto because Pauletta stopped watching me. Do you know what I mean? Because Pauletta was only a wee girl at the time. I mean, she was only like 6.
Literally, yeah.
Literally only 6. And she's, when the baby, you've seen it, Trudy, many times like I do. I love it when the baby queens come.
Yeah.
At their eyes.
But yeah, we used to joke and say, right, they either want to buck me or they want to be a drag queen. Yeah. It's either one of the two. You can't tell the difference between a drag shag or somebody that wants to do drag. They're very close. You get the same glare.
They're just fixated on the lights, the audience, the attention, the applause, and all of that kind of sort of stuff. And sometimes what I love is that, and people think you are Trudy 24/7, and I'm Tina 24/7, and it's so weird, that they think that your life on stage, that's it all the time.
We go home for Chinese dressed in drag.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
Well, yeah, it was something just to go off a wee side tangent about that. It was something that it was that big. Years later, I had to have a sort of it came up in a counselling issue with me where, you know, we would be going out after and friends would be talking to me about certain things and people would just be interjecting as if I'm still on stage as Trudy, you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't claiming my own space and you know, because it was a people pleaser and all of that. And I had to work out, you know, to differentiate that for myself because people were treating me a certain kind of way. And it was overbearing.
Yeah.
So it was something that I discovered later on in life about that, you know.
That's
But it just shows you
yeah,
the way people were
like, perceiving it.
Yeah.
And that for me was, you know, and I'm always I'm either yes, no, black or white. And because I'm not Tina all the time. I'm a drag queen.
Yeah.
But if you want to think that that's the way I live my life, go ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one of the nicest things I think what you touched on earlier, Trudy, was that family feeling, that sense, the real sense of proper old school community.
Yes.
You know, you had your Friday night out, you had your karaoke on a Thursday, you had your wee bit of a quiz on a Wednesday, and then your Saturday night was your big blowout. But on a Sunday night down to Union Street, and it was groups.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one or two friends.
Yeah.
It was
because people could actually catch up as
Yeah.
well. You know, they could talk together and
chat,
or go outside and do whatever they were doing. You know, but
having a wee smoke, having a wee bit of banter,
or flirting with people if they've seen them across the room. All of that
with the one with the good eye.
Yeah.
So they did. But this is something I'd like to read out, Glenn, that I got sent from a girl called Danielle Punk. Right, it really moved me. As the mosh. Hi, Tina love. Listen, I seen your post. And see, to be honest, it's not even a funny story, but one thing that I'll always remember about you was I was a new mummy many, many moons ago and bad with my baby blues, and my bestie used to trail me out when I won the bingo in the Parliament one night. And you'd have thought I won the lottery, LOL. When I used to be up dancing, you'd wink over to me or we'd talked. You made me feel so special. It's just your wee way. You made a young 21-year-old always feel on top of the world for a night, and I'll always love and remember you for it.
Well, that was nice.
Isn't that lovely?
Thanks for writing in, Danielle.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think, but all drag queens have that. We all have that when
we have the ability to do it. It's whether you choose to take it on or not.
But we always see a soul. There's always a soul in a show in the audience.
Yeah.
And you're drawn, whether it be male, female, young, old, gay, straight. There's always that one wee soul where you're drawn to and you go, "You all right, love?"
You just know he's
You just know somebody's looking a visual hug or a wee ear for 5 minutes. And I think it's kind of like you have that, I have that, Portia has that, you know, and I think all drag queens do have that natural ability to, and that's that we appreciate you being here, you know, and supporting our community. Couldn't give a fuck where anybody's gay, straight, black, white, yellow, green or blue. You know, when somebody's in any of our shows and they're paying for drinks and they've bought a lovely wee outfit and they want to be your friend, don't they? But then,
I think, again, coming from where we were with the Sunday Bingo show and really feeling that sense of community, you're always trying to pay that forward still. Do you know, I think that's in our DNA as queens.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we experienced it in such a big level back in the day with the show.
oh, it was huge.
Do you know? And for times, you know, we are drag queens and we're all egomaniacs, maniacal at times. But, you know, there was a period where I sort of felt like, I don't know about this. Like, I needed something more from it. And I thought it was a bit vapid. And then it just so happens around that time that there was certain, I can't remember why or when or what, but I remember that the messaging coming through was people were really saying, you know, "Oh, you've made me laugh when I didn't think I could laugh. I didn't know when I was going to laugh again," or those type of messaging. And then I realised at that moment, oh, there is something more powerful here at play that I'm part of, I'm kind of responsible for, and that it gave me a reason and a purpose to do the job, do you know?
I also found it very hard because to actually embrace that teen people actually love and believe in Tina, and I found it a wee bit awkward. But then the more I embraced it, and the more I loved it, and the more I thought to myself, Tina is real. Tina does. That, you know, Tina is a person, as a human being, and people want to embrace and get to know her and love her and me and everything, because I just think that, but that for me was a kind, I don't know why.
I had that too.
It was we were so raw way back 20, nearly
For
30
me,
years
what it
ago.
was when I was really young, I was really unconfident, and I obviously was doing something that I hadn't. There was no
You're
other
not feeling very
experience of it.
confident?
Not very confident today, no. But drag gave me the confidence by tricking my brain. So I was doing drag, and I realised over a period of time, I was like, oh, I am really doing that. And what it done was, in my brain, it was like, well, it is you doing it. Like, you're making that happen on stage, even if it's through the character.
Yeah.
And so I faked it till I make it, basically through drag.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I've created a character that can be confident. So if I can create that, then I am confident.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of a wee trick of the mind with it, you know.
Well, if Trudy can do it, Gordon can do it.
Yeah, it is Gordon doing Trudy.
it is, yeah.
But isn't that what they say though? It's kind of like, you know, the whole thing off drag is that when you pull on your when you get into drag, you're adopting that persona.
Yeah.
And by definition of adopting a persona, you're actually stepping outside of you.
Yeah.
Even though you are you.
Yeah.
But it's isn't it? It's funny how the brain
It's like
can
Beyonce and
compartmentalize
Sasha
that.
Fierce.
Yeah.
It's, as the actress said to the
not
bishop,
Gary
it's all, it's all, as the bishop said to the actress, it's all inside you.
Yeah. But I just think to rely on that I didn't understand what an alter ego was or embracing.
There was no talk of even
no
any of
shit.
that thing.
We had no education whatsoever.
So, you know, the show did start to evolve over the years.
Yes. Yeah.
And as the show started to evolve, we've seen more queens come on board.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in the previous episode, you mentioned Bunny.
Bunny.
You mentioned Felicity.
Yeah.
So do you know where they are now? Are any of the queens, are you still in contact with them?
Bunny's still in Dublin, but
She's not doing drag no more.
No,
though.
no, she's not doing drag. She's doing a couple of different things now. Felicity, I seen maybe 5 years ago, and is in London.
Wow.
Still.
Is she
And
still doing drag? Did you know?
No, she did do a book about makeup and transformation. Her own book.
So out of all of the queens that you have worked with, not including yourselves and Portia, who would be your favourite queen that you've worked with during the show?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Um,
I'll say
Go for it.
Azura Pendergast.
Why is that?
She was so different and soft and gentle, and she to me was the Trudy Scrumptious that I found it so hard to figure out. When she came to the Sunday Bingo show, Trudy had left the Sunday Bingo show to go and pursue other things, and then it was Pauletta, and then it was Azura and me, and then we had a wee guest act. But when Azura had come out to start to do her drag, Azura was out at the same time as Blue Hydrangea. Then Blue was very maverick, boombox and all that, and I kept looking at Azura and thinking, you're like a baby Trudy. But because she was so artistic, her makeup was flawless, Pauletta and me are so similar, and we bounced off each other, we leant on each other, but Azura made me stop and think.
yes.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Because I used to think me, Trudy, and
couldn't.
Portia, we were all the same, but we weren't. And it took me a while to learn, you need to shut up and listen. And when someone's trying to explain something to you, you're in a show, it's not all about you. You need to get inside their heads. Like, remember we were doing themes, and we used to do and I used to go, right, okay, I really need to think about this. And that was me being educated with myself. So when Azura came along, I had a second chance to go, right, just listen. Do you know what I mean?
Because Azura is one of those queens that you don't know what direction she'll take when she's performing, you know.
Exactly. Because she would just completely surprise you, blow your mind, and is so precise. So it's like, you walk in, your makeup is like, whoa, unbelievable. Makes things, she's so creative, and she'll turn up and everything is minute and it's all gorgeous and it's in this little box over here and that little package to the left. And I'll be like, why are you so organized? And you're like 4 years old.
Yeah.
Where I was a big fat mess, but I didn't care, but I knew where my mess was.
Yeah.
you know. So for me, Azura was my second chance with someone who was kind of similar to you.
Yeah.
But what it taught me was just shut up, listen, and learn.
Trust the process.
Trust the process completely and utterly. And I'm always truly grateful for that. Even though we were still doing the Sunday Bingo show, I felt like I had given myself a chance to learn from Pauletta, to learn from Azura, to learn from Wee Blue coming into the show.
You can always learn from all the different types of people.
Absolutely.
And the show's seen so many queens come and go through it, like
Hasn't
Rusty and Roxy.
Absolutely.
But that's naturally, but that's a natural evolution of a show. You know,
Yeah.
people, you just need to look at being, you know, at thespians in general. You know, you can have a run at a show or at a stage performance before you sort of go, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so you
true.
will have a constant churn, and
Yeah.
you know, and as an audience, ultimately that audience also grows, and the content changes as well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
you're
it
bringing
does.
new personalities in and so on.
It has to, especially that was the thing about, you know, you saying coming down every week and everything. We didn't have the option to really repeat numbers because a lot of our audience members were there every week, and it was like giving them something new.
We had
so
to.
we really wanted to live by that standard, even though sometimes we died on that cross. But like we pushed ourselves all the time, you know, and
We did, and it was good for us because we had the same audience, so we had to impress and we wanted to educate ourselves. No one give us a rule book or any guidelines. We were right, okay, your show's doing really well. Here's your stage, here's your lights, here's your stage manager, there's your compere and your host, but it's the same audience.
Yeah.
So we were kind of held to our own secret ransom, and we wanted them to stay. We needed them to stay. But we most importantly wanted them to love us, and we made them adore us.
Who was your favourite person to work with, Trudy?
I no pressure.
I'm over here.
Do you know what? Like, there was a lot of queens that came through the show, and I could see at certain stages where ones were coming. But I do love that me, Tina, and Portia done the thing together and created it. I love that. Bunny, I felt, was a very unique out of the gate type of queen. Like, she came out with an aesthetic, she came out with her song choices, and that was kind of really admirable and you know, unique in that way. So for originality, for sure that. But I mean, you looked at Rusty when Rusty first came out, and she was like big country woman. You know, she just was a cake.
Yeah,
you know,
Rusty's still a big country
she was a
woman.
big,
well, not so
skinny
big. She's a skinny country woman now.
But like, and then to see that the show platformed so many people that went on to do amazing things as well.
Yeah.
That's why I love the idea of having a space like that in a community bar, that it's platforming future generations of something, you know, whether you like it or not. It's there for people. It's there for the people to express themselves.
So I have a question. I don't know whether it's a question or who. I have a bone to pick with somebody.
Oh, it's her.
Trudy and I just pointed at each other.
Who is responsible for the time that the show was sponsored by Terry Mugler's Alien? I don't know if you remember this, but they were giving away samples, and the entire scene in Belfast stank of Terry Mugler Alien for about 6 months. Who was responsible for it?
That was Portia.
Portia.
It was. Portia worked in boots.
So Portia.
And also I couldn't wear Terry Mugler or any Terry Mugler fragrance, because if I put Terry, I think it was Alien I put on me, and it just smelled like coffee. Coffee's the best note on it. Everything else didn't smell. So I smell it, but I don't even drink fucking coffee. I smell like, yeah. And Womanity was the big one as well at the time.
Well, thanks very much, Portia. It's forever etched into my nose, and anytime I smell that now, I'm instantly transported.
I can
back.
remember that now. I actually forgot all about that.
We had another listener write in. This one is Instagram handle is McQuaid Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Love.
Hi, McCoy.
Long
Chris-
time no smell.
Chris talks about a time that he was challenging Portia on stage on a pole, which resulted in him getting stuck upside down and slowly sliding down like an idiot, and Portia standing there, facepalm emoji. There were lots of things like that where the audience were always invited up on stage.
Well, so do you remember in the early days of the bingo show, there was actually polls to explain to the audience? There was like polls with
There was.
and the base of the poles were then the pre-padded seating round.
Podiums, where they had
Podiums,
podium
basically,
dancers.
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
they? It was
That's
like
right.
So they would be that would congregate of a selection of gay men around the pole.
Yeah.
Or, you know, at times we would use the poles during numbers and things and swing
That's
round them or
right.
climb up them or whatever that was as well. But
We used to do our big exotic dance numbers and go
Yeah.
all the way to the top, and the bouncers used to have to hold all the gays back.
yes, that's right.
And they used to have to say, "We can't sit there before, can't sit there, move." And then Trudy would have come out, or I would have come out, and Portia would have come out. But the one thing that it did do was it made all the guys go, "I want the pole."
Yes.
Didn't it?
They were
They wanted to get up and they wanted
Well,
to get
it was
down.
a big phallic fucking thing to climb, do you know what I mean?
It really was.
But you remember the show whenever every week we would come in, like there was only one entrance in and out of the room basically, but not for us because we could find many different ways to come into that space.
Yes, did.
We'd come in from the fire escape, we'd come in from across the hall, we came
And
from Lisburn, like we were
Felicity,
coming
from
in-
everywhere.
Felicity B. Wild would decide that her only way to the stage was to climb over audience members.
Yeah.
She might have done that once or twice.
yeah.
You weren't
Messy.
safe, no matter whether you were tucked in the corner. You weren't safe. If
No,
we
you
didn't
weren't.
see, if we didn't see it start, we'd have seen you when the spotlight went around the room.
The
like,
night that we had the pillow fight,
oh my god,
the feathers, the grease mix,
No, it was girly mix.
girly mix.
So it was material girl, only
Yes.
girl in the world,
Yes.
all of that there, and the concept was because it was like a bed show or something. We'd done a whole thing about slumber party.
Slumber
we were having
party.
a Sunday slumber party theme, and all we had got this bed built, and we all like wore jammies during Agony Aunt, and the finale then was I'd put this mix together with all the girly songs around being girls.
Yeah.
And we all come on, we woke up from a dream. And we all done our solo bits and then fell asleep again. And then at the end, it was girls just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I had said, me again, my big fucking mouth was going, "Oh yeah, we'll just get pillows, feathers in them." And you had said, "Do not need to take feathers out." And I was like, "Absolutely not. Why would you need to do that?" Strike to the end of the performance. And we had torn a wee bit of a hole in the thing so that we could rip it and then hit and the feathers would go. And I thought it would be gorgeous and angelic. Was it fuck? We strike to Tina being the first person to hit somebody with a pillowcase full of feathers. And when I say I seen the first pillow empty, I went, "Uh-oh, fuck, we fucked it." Because the feathers went everywhere. We couldn't even see each other.
The pillowcases exploded because we were really whacking each other so that they would explode.
Yeah.
But those feathers travelled everywhere. The Shoe Factory, Union Street, the Kremlin, out
No,
onto the
I swear to
street.
God.
They
And
went,
our
didn't they?
eyelashes and our wigs were all ruined because there was wee
Yeah.
tiny fibres in them all.
Everywhere. And
They
then,
had to replace like the whole front row's drinks because there were just
were
glasses
such
filled
real-
with feathers.
you'd have thought it was a flock of seagulls were shot dead.
And
'Cause they were
Sam had to actually empty the room early because it was becoming a hazard. Like it was chaos.
No naked flames.
Chaos. Sam had to the staff were calling us all the bastards of the day because
Yeah.
every time they brushed the feathers, you can imagine a gust of
Yeah,
wind. They were just
yeah.
moving. Sam decided to get the wind machine and he just gutted the place by blowing the feathers out the fire exit doors.
Yeah.
The next day, it looked like a chicken farm had exploded in Union Street.
It did.
And everybody claimed ignorance and they didn't have to pay the council.
Oh, that was one of the
chaos.
best, messiest nights.
Yeah,
Down at the
it
show.
was so funny though. I remember us all just looking at each other startled, and I looked over at the management and I was like, "Oh, we're so fucking dead. This is awful."
Talking about bringing people on stage, Tina, do you remember the time that you brought Debbie Caratash's kids onto stage and you brought them out on stage and pointed to her and said, "When your mummy tells you that she's going to church on a Sunday night, this is where she's going"?
Yes. Yes.
And Debbie was mortified
She didn't know.
because she had brought her kids
could
down
die,
from her
it's
house.
crazy.
Yeah.
We were always at stuff like that.
I know
though.
we were always doing stuff like that. We're really, really
Do you remember
were.
I done Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I got my mum to bring down our wee dog Tommy.
Yes.
He was a wee shih tzu, and we brought him down, and I had him on stage, and he wouldn't look at the audience. He kept looking away, so I was turning my body round, and he was sort of side on with his head up on my shoulder, and at one stage he just turned his head round and flopped down and looked at the audience, and the whole audience went, ah, and I went, fucking bastard upstaging me, I'm raging.
Another one that stood out for me is wee Gilly.
And
do you remember Portia had this running joke with Gilly that his name was Juanita and she kept him locked under the stairs and he was the cleaner of her house.
That's right.
Yes. Oh my
did,
God, I
remember?
totally forgot about that.
And Tina, you'd also got Gilly out for a performance one time dressed as a baby. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh my God, Glenn,
So
this
it
is flashback central.
Yeah.
You'd come out and it was out when I'm walking after
After
midnight.
midnight.
And
And he had a big
Gilly,
nappy.
and out jumps Gilly
Yes.
out of the pram.
Uh-huh.
There were some really cracking
There's so
performances.
many.
They were so
things,
raw.
Here's
Yeah.
another one for you that stood out. This one's come in from Sparky Spark.
Right?
And he was talking about Tina's stunts. And this is where Tina started to jump and swing from the curtain rail out into the audience.
Do you remember? I used to jump onto the...
God, yes.
And for every Monday, I used to get phone calls and emails. Would you stop fucking swinging off that? 'Cause I
To
used
be
to jump
fair,
out and swing out.
Can I
swing
say
out.
to you, as an audience member, that was pretty hair-raising stuff because we weren't sure whether or not Tina was going to either A, end up on top of us or the entire top of the stage was going to collapse.
So this was whenever they'd put an actual curtain up, am I right in saying
Yeah, and
this?
they had the
This is-
curtain
yeah.
rail the whole way
This is actually when the
round.
stage was at the opposite
They
side of the room.
moved
Do you
over,
remember?
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was they'd moved it. They'd basically turned the room around. But yeah,
And
that,
spent a fortune, and she was swinging from it like it was Jungle Gym.
Sure, in the Parliament, when we was round in the Parliament on a Saturday afternoon, it was so raw, and we was doing my karaoke show, and the bin lorry went by, and nobody was really singing, and I, well, fuck usins, and I jumped on the back of the bin lorry, and
remember
it drove
that.
on up a street.
She was on the back.
I
of
was
the
on the
window,
microphone,
and
I
you
was
could-
like, see you later.
you could see through the windows, her on the back of the window, just tripping off.
So that, and then one Saturday, I was doing meatloaf, and I went out and jumped on a moped, and went. Vroom,
we
vroom.
talked about this in
You
one of
done
the
that?
early.
You done that at the bingo show too?
I did.
We talked about that in one of the earlier episodes of the podcast,
Came in
didn't we?
on the
Because
middle
that
of
was
the
a
floor.
real standout moment for me. I remember the first time seeing this at karaoke, and there's somebody casually riding their moped around the bar to Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
That's right.
Some
There
of
was,
the
we were just trying anything that we could, like the wind, getting the wind machine down and adding that an aspect of the show. I remember I done a song called Zero. I don't know if you're a zero. And I had done this whole prop thing with it and all. And do you know that? Was it Zero I done it first with? Or do you remember I got the brush pole?
Yeah.
And figured how they put all the blue roll on the brush pole and on that curtain.
Oh yeah.
And I got the I got the audience to the blue rolls then rolled, and the whole audience was covered in blue.
like a blue man,
roll.
like a
That's
blue
right.
man
Blue
group
man
performance.
group thing,
Yeah,
I'd seen
okay, I
it.
get it. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
recreated that at the show. So you were always just trying to think of ways of
Trying
being
to do
inventive
something.
and
Yeah.
do you know.
I think this is the thing, right? So the show was known for pushing boundaries. So, like, I suppose it's a question to both of you. You know, were there ever moments when you felt you were taking like a proper risk on stage? What about you, Trudy? Has there been anything?
One for sure. Again, coming back to community, coming back to really like activating the community was when the Iris Robinson thing came out. And it had happened to come out on the Monday morning, and we had met in the rehearsal on the Tuesday and Wednesday. We didn't know what we were doing, and we were like, I'm gonna fucking do an Irish Robinson number. So
for context, this is where Iris Robinson
Yeah.
went on to BBC Radio Ulster, and when she was asked about marriage, she said it was an abomination, and the host tried to give her an opportunity to correct herself, and she didn't.
she doubled down on
She
it.
doubled down on it. So I interrupted you, but just for the
No,
context.
of course. So in the rehearsal then we were like, yeah, fuck it. So we then, within the space of a couple of days, so that was on the Wednesday, had all come up with our own ways to kind of clap back per se about what we wanted to do about this. And it wasn't that we thought anything other than that we wanted to do that, and we were like, we're going to use drag for its superpower that it is.
Yeah.
But it seemed subliminally to the audience that like they knew because that show was jam-packed. They wanted to see something that was a clapback because they weren't seeing it on TV. So where were they going to go? Down to the show.
Yeah.
And the room was jam-packed. It was riotous from start to finish. I mean, they were ready to leave the show and walk to Stormont.
So they were.
You know,
there was nearly blood on the dance floor.
There is definitely a video off that one.
Yeah.
I have that one definitely on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure of it.
We'd all done our own different versions of songs that were kind of clapping. But I think I'd done like Her, and then I went into Christina Aguilera Dirty or something, you know, like to push back against it. You, I think, had done a mix, and I think you might have done the mix for her with it in it. And it was just all of that, the speech throughout it, and I felt like in that moment I remember it giving the audience an empowerment of feeling like, yeah, that is fucking wrong to be doing that, you know. And
I mean, because then what you'd done was you'd actually took her speech and put it in your mix, and then you'd added other bits and pieces to it, and it was so monumental. Because here we had a community who was forever being, our community was, we were wrong, we were dark, we were everything.
Politicians and all through all this up to this point were always able to say what they want, and I think it was the first time that we felt like we had power to say something back and do something about it.
And the irony of what she was actually doing herself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
By some of the performances, you thought we would have known that at the time because we were basically making her out to be a fucking slanderer.
So for context, it transpired that she was actually having an affair, wasn't she?
With a much younger person.
With a considerably younger person, that's right. And
she bought him a coffee shop.
And she was talking about, you know, us being an abomination, and she was talking about her being a good Christian woman and sort of hiding behind Christian values when in fact she was committing adultery. What about you, Tina? Was there anything that from your sort of time that you sort of felt was pushing boundaries, you know, that was taking a risk?
Yeah. I remember specifically, do you remember the programme, Trudy, Glenn? Big Fat Gypsies, man.
I knew you were going to say this one.
Yes.
So we decided to have a theme, and people got the concept wrong. They thought we were taking the piss out of that community, but it was never about that. It was about the dresses. It was all
program
about
per se, that was
the big dresses, the big veils, the big hair, the diamantes. And I remember getting...
It was coming from a place of us where what they were doing was like drag to us. Like, it's like you're born naked, the rest is drag kind of thing.
All we wanted to do was to do our own show on the dresses, not the culture.
Yeah.
The bigness, we loved what they were doing. We were supporting what they were doing. But unfortunately, some people didn't take it that way. And I was getting threats, and I was getting called names, and I was going to get, so people were going to do this to me and that to me. And because it filled me with so much gusto, and I thought, you know what, I've been doing this for such a long time, and you're threatening me, and you're going to say you're going to do this to me. Well, my show finishes at about 12:30. I'll meet you out in the street, but I'm going to do that show first. I don't care how. Now, this was other gay people who were in our community, and I would face Goliath. I wouldn't give a fuck. But as far as I was concerned, they totally overlooked the concept. Yeah. So that was the only one where I felt let down. Because even though I tried to explain, I was like, it's about the dresses, it's about the frocks, it's about the diamantes. Do you know, it's not about what you think it is. Yeah. And even though I tried to explain it. However, so 6 months later, fast forward, we're doing the shows and everything's fine and it's all forgiven. There was no violence, by the way. And the same people who hated my guts and hated my guts and hated my guts and were the same ones who came up to me 6 months later. And they apologized because it took them that long to get it.
Yeah.
I can understand, you know, frustration and anger like we all can, and fear and stuff, but taught me a lesson as well that, you know, sometimes as drag queens, we can get some things wrong.
Yeah, of
but
course.
The only reason that we're doing it is because we have a voice and a platform, and we would put our community first. And maybe in my way that they thought that I was going to do it in a harmful way.
Yeah.
Whereas what they should have done was, Tina, come have a chat with what's the show about? And we would have said the dresses.
Yeah.
It's just about the dresses and the diamantes. We're not taking, but instead, that was back then when they thought it was okay to go on social media and you're going to get shot dead and we're going to come around and we're going to set your mummy on fire. And I'd be like, well, I'll give you the address. Away you go. I hope you make it out of the street alive.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely shows where they were on topic over the years like that. You know, something in pop culture or something in the political realm that was being said against the community, and we sort of felt like we had to.
We were their
mark that
voice.
moment. Yeah.
We were their voice for a very, very long time, and we still are. Drag queens are always that one kind of sort of pinnacle, you know, that we carry, that we have that torch song trilogy kind of, I suppose, uniqueness. Whereas people will say, they'll say Trudy Scrumptious, Tina Legs, Teddy Von Tramp, Lady Portia, you know, and what we have brought over the years through our own unique way. And I think it takes a lot for other people because they don't really have a community. Do you understand what I mean by that? You know,
yeah, it's come back to what you were kind of saying, you know, that sense of community. I feel like that when you've lived through it the way we did, and you don't see it as much, it is also because the community's just,
well, the community's changed.
It's exploded as well. Like there's just so many people that you're not going to see in that vicinity.
I think part of it as well is that you also need to remember that in 2024, the concept of a gay bar, it's still very relevant. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
But it's perhaps maybe just not as relevant now that it's more socially acceptable now. You can sort of go into any bar, you know. That's not to say that we should get rid of gay bars. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that the audience, like kids nowadays, will just go out to any bar and
they're
not
online a lot, and it's, you know, they're finding communities online. But to me, maybe I'm old, maybe whatever. But
what do you mean, maybe?
You're I'm trapped by this microphone. But no, I still have a fondness, and I feel like it's necessary to be really in front of your community and be showing up to feel part of it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you can have the same impassioned or understanding. You know, you can read things online and see things, but it's not how it's really felt as a human experience. And I feel like that people need to be around more people like themselves and connect on that human level. Yeah. Which is one thing that bars and spaces like that, that's why they're important as well.
Oh no, they're important. They're protected spaces for people, you know, where they feel that they can come out and, you know, and meet like-minded people. I think that's the point I was trying to put across. But I'm just saying that there's more social acceptance nowadays, where people maybe don't feel like they need those spaces as much. Which led me on to my next point, which is exactly what if we're at a point where we are, you know, we fought for that for over the years, we're starting to maybe get to that point, and it's not to say that it's perfect, but we're getting to a point where perhaps maybe, you know, the idea of a gay bar is probably just, it's not sort of the old view of a gay bar doesn't fit into the 2024 lens is what I'm trying to say.
No, it doesn't.
Let me ask you this then. So what do you miss the most about performing at the Sunday Bingo show?
Trudy and Portia.
I miss the creativity and the crack.
Yeah.
And obviously.
And everything.
And obviously the people.
Yeah. The three of us, that what we brought, but we were together before we even got to Union Street.
Yeah.
We were together before we got to Union Street, before we went into the Parliament, before any of it started. That amazing bond was so magical. And I guess in a way, I'll never miss it because I loved it so much. And it will always hold a very special place in my heart, because there's always there's too many memories to forget. Do you understand? And that's why I'm so glad I brought my big yellow camcorder with me, because when I look at my phone and I'll just sit and I'll watch and I'll look at the audience, you know, no one will ever recreate that.
No.
You would need...
It was of its time and for its time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to... We were only there because we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You know, you'll only ever be where God wants you to be and never anywhere else in life. And I think that we were so lucky to be together for
100%.
such a long time and put there. And what we did with it was we created something so beautiful. And I miss it in a way because... But I'm glad that I miss it because we couldn't have been as good as what we were with each other and then stayed together.
Yeah.
We had to go different ways. We had to take different paths.
It's only in hindsight when you look at after
Yeah.
it all, like it even feels weird to talk about it in this context because your lived memory for us individually, is different. But like when you look back on it now and you really think about where we're at, and you go, okay, that did set up for a lot of other things, both individually and collectively bigger for the community.
Absolutely.
So I suppose that's the thing that I have a sort of fondness for is like kind of the innocence and the gusto and the uniqueness that we all had to push us forward to do something like that.
Yeah.
And the gratitude to be around at that time, to be involved and be part of that process. I feel like that makes me emotional thinking about it, you know.
Yeah.
That I'm lucky that I was part of that, you know. Because you'd imagine then what's the alternative? You weren't there and you're coming in at a later stage. Would that have even have worked for me?
Yeah.
You know?
Would you say that it's defined your career?
Definitely.
100%. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's the way I would look at it. I would say that's kind of the career defining moment. You're writing history. You know, there's the LGBT Heritage Project, you know, that's currently cataloguing in Belfast there. We've got an event coming up with them next month. Tickets are on sale now. We're doing a G&T live. But the LGBT Heritage Project, you know, they're really keen to hear stories like yours because it underpins the fabric of the LGBT community in Belfast over the years.
Well, it's like you talking about your camera and you coming down to the show in those early days of YouTube and it's being documented. That element of it is important. But again, did we ever think that at the time? Absolutely not. But there you go. We keep receipts. Just so you know.
Yes.
So we're nearly out of time.
Again,
I know, we're nearly out of time, but do have just one question for you both. So this
You're going first this time.
Okay.
This has come in from Wise Up Woodgie on Instagram.
Right.
Make it a cracker.
And they ask if the Sunday Bingo Show could come back for one special performance, what would you want the theme or the focus of the night to be? And who would be in your lineup?
Well, I think the theme would be a celebration of Belfast drag. And I think it would be anybody that has set foot on that stage, the invitation would be open for them to come and perform.
Yeah.
So it's a whole royal gala variety experience.
Absolutely.
And why not go for the Opera House? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And make it a real theatrical event.
I think, being honest, I would love to do one night with Trudy, Tina, and Portia.
Gag.
The three of us. And what, you know, and using the clips that I have.
Yeah.
The Parliament, Union Street, the Shoe Factory, the history. I have our history on film.
I have a lot of your history on film.
And you have a lot of it.
You actually remember, Trudy, about 5-6 years ago.
Karen Faulkner has a lot of film.
Yeah.
About 5 or 6 years ago, you come over to my house one night and we sat and went through all the old videos and watched all them from over the years. Just as a nostalgia thing, we had a bite to eat and we sat and we went through them all.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. Karen Faulkner will be another person that
She
has.
would be
Well,
another
it'd be
one.
interesting to see if people even out there have old video footage that we don't even know exists.
Exactly.
You know?
So this, I think, for that would be so unique to bring it back. For if there was just one night only, and we always did one night only is all.
Come on, baby, come on.
So actually, well, let's put that out there to listeners. Listeners, if you do have any old clips off the Sunday Bingo show, doesn't matter the quality or what era.
Let's
if
be
you
honest,
wanna,
the quality's not going to be good. The remote bricks.
some of us had Nokia N95s.
Of course you did, Glenn.
Yeah.
Me and Colin McCrory were running around with the best phones of the time because we both worked in Vodafone at the time, of course. But look, if you've got a clip off the Sunday Bingo show or multiple clips, send them through to info@gntpod.com. Fire them over to us. We'll take them off your hands.
It'll be interesting to look back on them and say, like, even a wee montage of them or something.
It would
Because
be
sometimes
amazing.
when you look back, I'm like, I don't know where I am in that because I actually don't recognize myself as well sometimes,
Yeah.
you know.
Even the wee montage that he put up for this of you and I. And do you know what I noticed? There's you looking at me looking at you, and then and in those photos, I'm like, look at how happy we are.
I know.
And then I look at what the fuck are you wearing, Tina? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, but that was the raw fun.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was,
I got away a multitude of sins because it was a skinny bitch. And now I look like I've ate myself twice over.
To
do
be
you know?
fair, anytime you come out with an outfit that was kind of quirky or cuckoo, we just put it down to the fact that you were the fashion queen and that you made all your own garments.
Yeah.
But everybody knew that.
Yeah.
And I think that was always part of your appeal, Trudy,
Yeah.
which was, you know, this is all self-made and you're wearing yourself.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that way. There's nothing else like that out there
Yeah.
because you've made it. But,
Do you remember the outfit in the Parliament? Do you have a picture of me? I was bones. And I had made Indian silk lined lamb's wool combo miniskirt with ties up my legs and a wee fucking boob tube thing.
yes, and I had like a tie.
It was wee remnants that I found in the spinning wheel in the basket, 2 pieces of it. I went, they don't go together, but they will. I looked like lamb chops, and the wig was that big bouncy curly one, and because I was kind of looked like I was a wee bobblehead.
You
know?
did.
It was so funny.
It was amazing.
It was
amazing.
So we talked about bringing the show back for one night and if you could, what the theme would be. But, you know, how does it feel now for you both to reunite after all this time, especially to reminisce about the Sunday Bingo show?
I think any time we do see each other, we do
Trudy and I-
naturally go down memory lane.
We
like,
do, because we chuckle and we laugh like we did back then,
Yeah.
and we chuckle and we laugh now because we knew something was lovely then, but we just didn't know what it was. Trudy's always very strong and independent and fearless and fabulous, just as much as I am. You know a queen when you see a queen, and when she sits down and she's just going to go straight for the sarcastic, dark, filthy jugular, because we know each other's minds to a certain extent.
yeah.
And I love that bond that Trudy and I have. I mightn't see Trudy for a year, but I guarantee you the next time I see her, if it's Pride or if it's at an event, we'll sit down, we'll go, well, love, how are you? And you just carry on and you go straight into that.
Sure, it was Girls Aloud. We ended up getting into the same thing. We were like, right, we need to go because the concert's going to start. Like, you know.
They were ready to come on. Nadine was sending text messages and then Trudy, move over, come on. Trudy, it's us. And we were ready to go into full flight because it was me, you and Pauletta.
Yes.
And we'd all seen each other and we all started talking, and then we went straight into drag queen banter.
Yes.
And we were looking around at the gays, and we were all looking around like, oh, look at us. Did you see her? Did you see such and such?
Oh, I haven't seen her in years. Look what she's wearing.
Oh, God. She's let herself go. I just think to have that you'll always have that.
Yeah.
And for Trudy and I, we will always be connected through that beautiful, unique time period where God went, you, and you, stay here for a while.
Go make sure.
Go, yeah. Go
the
make gay drag queen stew.
The funny thing, like it is, like you say, when you're working beside each other on the stage so much, it just there's a language that's unspoken that she could be in my peripheral or Portia in my peripheral, and I know, right? I just know or sense something's coming, or you understand the thing that isn't even said.
Yeah.
And when you're working on that level, you do get to know someone on a different
Absolutely.
level. Do you know?
Absolutely. You do, and it's quite a nice kind of sort of unique thing to have.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's different from a friendship because it's a drag queen thing. And only drag queens will get it, you know? And I just think that it's so lovely to still have it, because it's sad when friendships dissolve for whatever reason that they do. But I'm a keen believer in communication is key, and forgiveness and understanding and kindness goes a long, 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 long way, because you forget sometimes that people are going through shit, and you may be in a really good place and she may be in a really poor place, but you're going to let that thing in the middle hover, you know, and to take a step back and go, right, okay, well, it's fine, it's all right, you know, fuck up. Fuck up.
The math says you get more with sugar than you do for salt.
So, Trudy, what have you got coming up? What are you working at the moment? Where are you? Where can people go and see you?
I am on
McGabry.
Thursday. Yeah, McGabry, Cell Block C. Or Cell Block D.
I'm joining you.
The Thursday in Union Street for Microphone with the lovely El Vosk. Sundays for Powerful Sundays, 8 to 10 slot. Where else am I coming up, or what else have I got coming up? I have something coming up, but I don't know if I can say just yet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Give us a clue. Give us a clue. Go on. It's got 2 words.
I don't know if I can say. So you
It's a song.
it's a. But yes, Halloween shows, Christmas shows are all coming in, and I'll be posting about those. Yeah.
Busy woman.
Busy woman, doing all sorts.
Busy woman.
I know there is other things, but I can't actually think what they are right now.
Oh
do you
my
know?
God. When people say to me, "No, well, Tina, what have you got coming up?" Go to the website. www.dragstherriches.show.
Yeah. There's too much information, and do you know one thing that I've noticed at the moment? People say, "Oh, you're awful busy." I'm like, because it is a hard sell at the moment for certain things.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get you to buy tickets. So say if the poster, buy a ticket, and then I'll shut up.
Yeah.
I'll not be that busy.
I know, and it's like where are you next? What are you doing? Where can I see you? And it's not that I would never be rude. I'm always grateful. But it's just easier now to just send the link. Have a wee look and see which one suits you.
Yeah.
So that sadly is all we have time for. I know it's gut-wrenching, but I've thoroughly enjoyed having a chat with you today. This has been wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time
Gorgeous week, skip down memory lane.
to walk down memory lane.
Skip. We had a skip.
Skip a mince.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Yeah, Trudy, it's been lovely, honey.
Lovely, darling. Thank you
Lovely.
so much for having me on.
No,
Iris.
thank you for coming and joining
more than
us.
welcome.
Time flies when you're having fun.
This is
Time flies when you're having chocolate.
just a quick ask off our listeners. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Your reviews mean the world to us. They help us get noticed. 5 stars only, please. Thank you so much, Trudy.
Thank you very much.
appreciated.
Thank you, Trudy.
And of course,
Thank you,
if you'd like
Glenn.
to support the podcast, then consider joining us on Patreon. For the cost of a drink every month, you can listen to all episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to G&T shows. Your membership tiers are from free, with paid memberships starting at £3, £4 and £5 per month, with each tier offering increased benefits. Your support helps us keep the conversations flowing, so join us at www.patreon.com/GNTpod.
That's us now.
Yay.
Chin,
chin.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of G&T Sips and Giggles. If you've enjoyed our conversation, then don't forget to share it with your friends, and why not subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Your reviews mean the world to us and really help others find the show, so please take a moment to leave one, but be kind. If you'd like to support the podcast, why not consider joining us on Patreon? For the cost of a drink a month, you can listen to episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to upcoming G&T shows. Your support helps us keep the conversation flowing. Cheers. We'll see you next time. Chin chin.